Hi, this video journal number 2 is answering the following prompt. Provide an in-depth discussion of the social characteristics of ASD you've observed thus far. Were there any social characteristics of ASD that you did not observe? Are there situations outside of your observations where you think these social characteristics might have manifested with the individuals? How and why? So I have the, advantage, thrill, excitement of living with two people with ASD. So I've kind of seen a lot of the social characteristics. So let's talk about them. So social competence. It's something that we all have. And most people just develop it and an understanding of it without needing to be taught it explicitly. Kids with ASD, not so much. You need that practice and that explicit instruction to understand. Things like understanding figurative language. I spent a whole summer teaching every figurative language and idiom I knew to my daughter with autism because she was listening to a phone conversation with my older teenager, and he said, "Oh, that we're talking about a robotics tournament." And he said that thing just was to die for or something, and she got so upset because she thought he was going to die. And I'm like, no, that's a saying. That's not, she's so literal. So we had to teach non-literal meaning to these things. You don't think about that because you just talk using that language. And sometimes it's really upsetting for a child that does not understand that you're not literally saying it. Another communication characteristic is the inability and the difficulty in taking turns in conversation. Let me tell you, when you're on the other end of that, that's frustrating. So it's really hard, but it's a skill you have to practice, that understanding of going back and forth and when to wait for someone else to comment. And listening and not just waiting for your next turn to talk. Like teaching explicitly like how to listen and not just waiting to jump in again. Also practice in how to break into a conversation. Like you'll see kids with ASD. I've seen them in my classroom. I've seen them in my daughter. They'll just kind of stand there and stare because they don't know how to insert themselves into an ongoing conversation. And so you have to explicitly teach how to do that because they don't know. And so if you can't comfortably socially communicate, these kids are at a serious academic disadvantage too, because think of all the group projects and the think, pair, share and all the community learning that you do in schools. Super hard when you don't know how to do that. And other social characteristics could be friendship. Oh, friendship is the big one. And I don't know if it's for boys and girls, but for girls, it's huge. My daughter, when she was little, everyone was her best friend. We would meet someone in McDonald's 6 hours from home. And she would be like, "Mom, that's my new best friend. Get her phone number." And I'd be like, "Becca, we live 6 hours from now. You just met that person. They're not your best friend." So understanding those levels of friendship and then being able to maintain and keep a friendship and have it deepen, it's a serious skill and it's a serious skill deficit. What else do we have? Poor social communication. if you don't understand how to be social, it's a struggle. And you have to teach simple things like how to say no, what to do when someone is pressuring you. And tell an adult isn't always the most socially acceptable plan, right? Especially as you get into middle school. So you really have to kind of think about not only how do you communicate, but how do you do it in a way that doesn't make you seem odd or different than your peers. What else? Let's see. Difficulty changing topics. Super hard. Especially if you're like really interested in the topic you're talking about and you have a limited narrow focus. It's really hard to get someone to expand. And also understanding those social cues as to when the person you're talking to kind of, their eyes glaze over, they're not interested, you've kind of gone on and on and on. Or, a lot of times I have a husband with high functioning autism. I'm going to pick on him for a minute. He does this thing that makes me crazy. And it's actually helpful in his position, in his job as a lawyer. But as a husband, it makes me crazy because I'll ask him a question that really just needed a quick 10-second answer. And 10 minutes later, I'm still listening. Because there's not that understanding of when to go into pick it apart, every little detail, and tell you everything you know about it, and when to just kind of give the quick and dirty answer. And there's not an understanding of that. And when you're trying to have a reciprocal conversation and the first person goes on and on and on and on and on, by the time they get done, you're just like, oh man, this conversation needs to end because I'm over it. It's frustrating. So it impacts their ability to have relationships with other people because those social cues that come naturally for so many people really are not coming naturally for these kids. And I cannot state the importance of explicit instruction that makes sense socially and the time to practice is so important. And it's not something we see typically in our schools. I'm hopeful that changes. It certainly will in my classroom. That's all I've got for now. I think that the social characteristics, these social characteristics can manifest to a greater degree without that practice, without that instruction. If you don't have it, if you haven't had someone kind of sit you down and show you what to do and give you a chance to practice it, then that lack of social cognition is really going to just impact you through the rest of your life. It'll impact your ability to, have long-term relationships and have coworkers, successful jobs. It's just a key learning that needs to be addressed. Hope I answered the question. This is Lori signing off from my bedroom. Bye.